Yes, my name is Hunter Taylor. I'm going to present a speech, persuasive speech. It's going to be about why farming is so important in today's world. Why farming is so important in today's world. If it wasn't for farmers, we wouldn't be able to have all the food we ate. We wouldn't be able to have all the trees you plant in the yard. You wouldn't be able to have all the fish that you catch. But why farming is so important, if it wasn't for a farmer, there wouldn't be no cotton to make clothes, pants, socks, shoes. If we didn't grow beans, you wouldn't be able to eat beans, you wouldn't be able to eat any special type of dish you make. If we didn't grow corn, you wouldn't be able to have sweet corn, you wouldn't be able to have field corn, you wouldn't be able to have corn in a can, cream corn. So it's very important why farmers are so important to this world. The reason I'm speaking of why farmers are so important, because I live on a farm. We got a big dairy farm. We do a big row crop farm. On our farm, we do a couple thousand acres of corn and soybeans. It takes a lot of time and patience and money to be able to have a good farm. I can say it, this year it's turning out pretty good with making our farm. We've done about 1,000 acres of corn, about 1,500 acres of beans, and it's just a lot of work putting into it all to be able to become a great farmer and have your crops all ready for harvest season. First of all, you gotta go and plant everything. You gotta have the ground ready before you go plant. After you plant, there's a bunch of different chemicals you gotta spray. You got a bunch of chemicals. You got a bunch of fertilizer for different crops. You got special fertilizer you put out. You got special crops you got to plant. For soybeans and corn, it's a lot of trouble if you ain't got enough people to be on the farm. Which we got about 8 to 10 workers on the farm, so we got it pretty much under control. But running our dairy barn, we got 6 workers that run the dairy barn. We're milking around 350 cattle, which is a couple hundred tons of milk every couple weeks. We have milk truck comes and picks it up every 2 days. And for dairy farmers, we wouldn't have no cheese. You wouldn't have cottage cheese. You wouldn't have regular cheese. You wouldn't have milk. You wouldn't have coffee creamer. Everything that comes out of milk, you wouldn't be able to have. So being a dairy farmer is very important. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of work, and there's a bunch of different things you got to do to the cattle to make them produce. Us, we use corn salads. We got soybean meal we feed. We use crushed corn. Then we got oats and forage hay. There's a bunch of different steps you got to make to become a great farmer. And for the cotton farmers out there, if it wasn't for them, the cotton pickers they got to buy $1 million. You just think how much cotton they have to grow to be able to pay $1 million for one picker. It's $1 million. So just think, all these farmers that have 8 pickers, that's $8 million. That's how much crop they have to produce. Over $8 million just to pay for their equipment. Not counting nothing else, not counting the payers pay or the or you got the chemical bills, the fertilizer bill. Yes, farming is very, very expensive in many different ways. But one thing about farming is, if it wasn't for farmers, this world would be turned upside down. There wouldn't be much to eat. You wouldn't have much to do. You wouldn't have any land to hunt. All these big hunters out here. You think they just, if it wasn't for farmers, there won't be as many big deer. You don't have deer. You won't be able to have turkeys. You won't have coons for coon hunters. You won't have rabbits for rabbit hunters. Squirrels for squirrel hunters. Everything for farmers, everything would be downhill. Farmers is a big improvement to the world for everything that we've done. Yes, it takes a lot of time and effort, but if it wasn't for farmers, there wouldn't be much to do. Farmers has made the world a whole lot easier than how it used to be. Even it's just not farmers, even technicians, John Deere techs, Case techs, Kubota tech, all the equipment techs made it a lot easier now. Because now we got several different types of equipment we can use. We don't have to hire a bunch of Mexicans or black people or white people to come out here and do all the hard labor work. Everything's a lot easier nowadays since we got brand new technologies. We got computers. This world has become from such a small place into a very, very large place. It means a lot nowadays for farmers to be able to have less people to work, but have the equipment to do what hundreds of people could do in one day. That means a lot to farmers. Farmers are very important. You can't forget, if it wasn't for a farmer, what would you be eating every day or every night or every meal you had? You wouldn't be eating a whole lot because if it wasn't for farmers, there wouldn't be a whole lot of meals to eat. There wouldn't be really anything to eat if it wasn't for a farmer because a farmer produces over 50% of what we eat nowadays. And 50% is a whole lot of food. I believe it's over 50%, but I could be wrong. So this is why farming is very important.